need to pick up on or clarify?
Not at the moment. No, we're all good.
Brilliant. I'll be back in the office on Tuesday. So what I normally do, because we can't share the Teams recordings to external parties, I download it into YouTube and I'll send the link through to you.
Okay.
But that'll be Tuesday, okay?
No problem with that.
All right. So have a great demo. Obviously, you're in more than capable hands with our very own subject matter expert in lace, Paul. No pressure, Paul. And I'll log off now, but I'll pick up with you, Craig, on Tuesday just to make sure there were no other questions that weren't answered on this session.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thanks, Paul.
All this.
What I'll do, I'll just go on mute because if I log off, I think it'll stop recording because I'm the organizer. So I'll just check in about half an hour. Yeah, an hour.
Okie dokie. Hi, how are you guys?
Fine, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, we're good, thank you.
Hi, not bad, thank you. I vaguely recall popping into the office to do a demo of this. God, it must be, what, 4 years ago? 5 years ago? I don't know.
Possibly, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Time is all confused. Anyway, I will just, I'll share my screen so you can see what I'm doing. Can you guys see the Circle platform splash screen okay?
Yeah,
Yep.
no problem.
Okay, cool. So there's 3 parts essentially to LACE. The first is a set of rules that you can maintain over your existing membership and also credit reporting. There's the application portal itself where your potential members and members will go to join and borrow. And then there's the underwriting queue where you administer the loan applications that come from the portal. So if we look at the rules first, there's 2 sets here, the credit union policy rules, the credit policy rules. The credit union rules refer specifically to your existing membership. So we've got 25, 30 or so rules here that you can set and update as and when you choose. So a couple of examples. The first one is, have they had a loan allocation within the past X number of months? So firstly, you can choose whether or not this is an active rule, what the value of X is. So in my case, have they had a loan allocation within the past 3 months? If it's a yes, what's the initial status of the application going to be? Likewise, if it's a no, and are we actually going to stop them applying at all? So that would only be reserved for kind of really specific things like, is their status code equal to, bad debtor or deceased or whatever? Obviously, you're not going to entertain a loan application for one of those members. So if we had that set to yes, when they log in, they get a message on the screen that says, you can't currently apply for a loan right now. Please contact the credit union and quote, rule code PRO7A. And then you can discuss with them further steps. So a couple of other examples. Have they had a loan application declined within the past X number of months? If they have an outstanding loan balance, have they repaid a X minimum percentage of it? Are they currently in arrears? So, that kind of thing relating to your existing membership that you've got that data on. Conversely, the credit report rules are for everybody that applies for a loan. And will look at the results of the credit check and give a status to the application based on that. So these rules obviously are specific to credit reference results. So you'll see things like, do they have any CCJs? Are they on the electoral roll? And we do sort of double up a few rules like active CCJs. We can say 1 to 1 is a refer, and then 2 to 999 is a fail, that kind of thing. So like I say, maybe 20, 25 rules for each set of criteria here that you can set and have full control over. So the next part of this process is the actual application portal itself. First thing we're greeted with as an applicant is, a bit of the legal stuff. We have to say that we've read your privacy notice if we're going to carry out a credit reference check, that kind of thing. So we need to confirm that first of all. If I'm an existing member, all I do is type in my membership number and my date of birth. That'll go off to the system, get checked, and it'll send a one-time passcode login email to my registered email address. So I'll click on that link. I'm logged in as myself. But I'll just say that we're not an existing member, which means we're going to go through the join and borrow journey at the same time. So the first thing that we need to do for that is just to confirm how we fit into the common bond. Then we type in the password for the demo area, which your members shouldn't have to do, hopefully. Cool. So the first thing that we're greeted with is an indication of the cost of borrowing. So it's value-based. If I drop that down, you'll see the APR goes up to 19.6, back to 5K, APR is down to 6.2 or thereabouts. So there's always a default product code behind LACE, which means that someone can just come straight to the application and get an indication of the cost of borrowing. That can change in a couple of ways. If I was an existing member who logged in and I had an outstanding loan balance, what it would do is recognize that and say, well, rather than apply for a second loan, what we'll do is switch the default product to the loan you've got and try and top that up. So that's going to refinance the loan, and the advantage to the member is that they'll get a much better reflection of the monthly repayment because it would be inclusive of their outstanding balance. Likewise, the total repayable will much more accurately reflect what they're actually going to pay back. So things you would expect, the repayment frequency that they can choose, the loan purpose that would correspond to your loan purposes on curtains, and their preferred repayment method, which is really just for your info. You're not being tagged to this by any means. The next step is about you, which is sort of the chunkiest bit of the application. If I was an existing member, the majority of this would already be filled in because we have that information. So I'm just going to put some stuff in just to 81, sure. Number of dependents, national insurance number. Now, LACE does work with various third-party integrations. For example, the credit checking and the identity verification is done through TransUnion. We also have a postcode lookup service, which is done through Allies Computing. So if I type that in, we'll do the old address just for, oh, it's not there anymore. Oh well, Kenny Park Mini Market it is. So you'll see that populates the address in the postcode format, which is great for like the uniformity of your data, especially with, you know, work addresses. If you have 3 people that work at the same employer, you'd get the address 3 different ways. But with the postcode lookup, it keeps it all nice and uniform. So we'll grab either 3 sets of addresses or 3 years worth of addresses as per the CRA specification. Contact details, I'll just put in some nonsense. And then we'll grab a bit of marketing info. How did you hear about our loans? And they can supply beneficiary info at this point, but we don't make it mandatory. Some credit unions are sort of unsure about the GDPR aspect of the beneficiary. So it's kind of there if you want it. So next thing is the work info. We'll grab all the kind of fields you would expect so that we can automatically create a payroll record on import. I'll just say that we are unemployed for speed's sake. And then we get onto finances. So we're asking, how much do you earn? We'll say 2 grand. What do we get in benefits? That is because I said we were unemployed in the previous step. If I'd said we were retired, that benefits box would be a pension box instead. So I'm just kind of highlighting the form's dynamic, and it's going to change what it's asking depending on what we've answered previously. Also, whether or not we're an existing member. If we were an existing member, it wouldn't be asking us for our bank details. It would know that we had some on file. So there would just be a message here saying, what we'll do is pay this loan out if it's successful to your account ending 1234. That kind of thing. So a bit of legally questions that we need to ask, and then a very small expenditure section. We used to ask something like 30 questions about expenditure. It's very cumbersome, took ages to fill out. And now we're just asking a few questions because we're using a cost of living figure that we attach to the applicant at the start of the application. Various other factors like how many dependents they have, because each dependent has a cost of living attached to them. And that'll give us sort of a monthly expenditure. So we'll take these other expenditure amounts and subtract that from the income that they have declared, purpose of which is to get basically a disposable income figure. If that disposable income figure is less than 70% of the loan repayment, that's fine, we'll let them crack on. But if it's greater than that, what we're doing is we're not telling them they can't have a loan. What we're going to say to them is, we've kind of worked out at the top end of your finances, the most you could afford to repay every month is £49. So rather than wasting your time applying for a loan you're not going to be granted and wasting the credit union's time having to assess an application they're not going to approve, why don't you manage your expectations a wee bit and try and get below that threshold that we think is most likely what you would be able to afford. So we'll send them back to the first step, the renegotiation part. We can see here, we don't think you can afford more than £49, but the monthly repayment's quite a bit more than that just now. So we can either, increase the term of the borrowing, which is still not quite beneath that threshold. So we'll take down the principal a wee bit. There we go. So that red monthly payment is now blue because it's below the threshold. So we're much more likely to be approved this loan once it actually gets underwritten. So really, it's increasing the chances for the member, and it's also increasing the quality of the applications that you get into the system at the end of the day. Next thing they've got to do is just kind of review the information that they've entered. They can jump back to any of those steps and edit that info if they want to do so. Do the legally bits that they've read the FSCS notice, etc. We'll grab their marketing preferences here as well. And because we're joining and borrowing, we'll also get their monthly statement preference, annual statement preference. Give them an indication of the total cost, so the repayment roughly, plus what they said they wanted to save with each payment. They can confirm they're human beings and submit their application. So they'll get a wee reference, and then what they can either do here is upload supporting documents if we've got the portal, or access open banking if we have an open banking provider. But essentially, that's their job done for just now. So with me talking through it at length, that was a member joining and borrowing at the same time. There's not two separate applications. It's just sort of one journey that they go through. So it's very streamlined and swift for the member. So it encourages the application. If they're just doing, a loan application because they're already an existing member, it's even quicker because the majority of this is going to be filled in for them, so they don't have to, repopulate information that you've already got. So what's happening right now in the background is we'll have some services sitting on your server, it's a lot of S's, that are just sort of polling, waiting for applications to come in. So it recognise somebody's just joined the credit union, so it would carry out an IDV check on the applicant. It would also carry out a bank check to confirm that the bank details they entered were, first of all, a valid bank account, and secondly, the name on the account matched the applicant's name. So it will import that, automatically create a member profile on Curtains for you. It will then identify they also did a loan application as part of that one journey, and it will bring that loan application into the system, do a credit check on it, and put it into the underwriting queue, which is what we're about to look at. So as I say, that's all automated. So the thing it does at the end of this, it sends you an email just to kind of let you know everything that it did. So these email logs are quite important to you because they'll let you know everything that's happened in the background. Like if it created a member, for example, you'll be able to see that on these logs that you get. Okay, so to the underwriting queue. Oops, didn't mean to go straight into that. I've done it again. Right, what we're looking at now is the underwriting queue. Its main purpose is to introduce a workflow into loan underwriting, which is something we don't really have in the system. We do have kind of many of the things you would need to do it dotted around the place, but there's no kind of rhyme or reason, I suppose. So this is going to introduce kind of step-by-step way of assessing loan applications. So what we're looking at here is the pending queue. So all loan applications that have come in from LACE are going to sit in here initially. They're all red, which means that they have an initial status of fail. That's because we're using my test data, and obviously we don't get a solid result back from the credit check or IDV or anything like that. So you would see a mixture of, red, yellow, green to indicate fail, refer, pass. You'll see the name, the product, loan number, if a teller is currently looking at the application, the credit score. It's organized by the time it's been sitting in this queue. And you'll also see the status of the applications, how far you've gone through the process. So we can filter this queue if I had any passes or refers by those specifically. So, you could give your experienced underwriters the fails, because they'll be more complicated to deal with. And maybe someone a bit more junior might look at, passes and refers, that kind of thing. There are a couple more queues as well, but I'll explain those in a wee second. What we'll do now is actually go into the application so we can look at the process. So up at the top, we've got 3 boxes. Those are all rules verified, income expenditure and payout verified, and agreement sent. They're all currently red. The idea is that we turn each of those boxes green, and that will allow us to approve the application. So that's the kind of workflow that we're talking about. We do that by interrogating the 4 tabs beneath, which are member info, credit union and agency rules, income, expenditure and disbursement, and send email documents. So under the member info tab is what you would expect to see, member information, shocker. And we've got some shortcuts at the right-hand side. So what we can do is jump to member inquiry if we want to do so. We can also view scans. So that would be useful if they've, say, uploaded a bank statement, or if you do want to look at the results of the IDV check or the credit check. We do import them into the system, and we also style them up, because what you get back from the agencies is just, basically code jargon. So we put a style sheet on it so it's nice and legible. So if you want to look at it, you can, and it would look something like this, but a bit more in depth, obviously, with a valid search. The idea of the credit report rules is kind of so you don't have to wade through, the credit report result, because the rules are going to go through the credit report, pick out the pertinent stuff. So this is a step that you can do, but it's not mandatory. You can view the application details in here as well. You can use the loan apron. I don't know if you currently use that, but there's no requirement to do so. It's there if you need it. You can, quite importantly, renegotiate any aspect of the loan. So you have full control over what you're going to offer the member at the end of the day. So obviously you can change the product, principal, term, frequency, interest rate, wrap in existing borrowing, as you would expect. So, any parameter can be edited before you actually make an offer to the member. You can view the diary as well, and you can look at event logs, because the underwriting queue has its own audit, I suppose. So any action taken in here by a teller would be recorded in that event log, and you can, review that at the end of the day or whatever if you need to do so. So the first time we really have to take an action is under the credit union and agency rules. Now you're going to see a mixture of passes, refers, and fails in here, but my demo's set up so we don't have to kind of go through them all. Passes are obviously not an issue. We don't need to worry about them, so I can just right-click and hide all the passes. All we need to deal with is the refers and fails. So I've got one here where I've said if their employment status is benefits, it's a refer. So if I'm not willing as the underwriter to override that, I just decline the application, and that's the end of it. But if we are going to make an offer to them, I can right-click on the rule, set it as a pass, and then I have to enter a reason as to why I'm overriding the initial status, because it's a demo. Save. So in theory, we've been through all the rules. We've changed all the refers and fails to passes, which means that all rules verified is now dealt with. So you'll notice that box up at the top is now green. That part of the process is all sorted. We're 1/3 of the way there. The next thing we would need to do is confirm the income and expenditure that they declared, which we would do by either looking at bank statements that they provided or an open banking search that they've signed up for. But let's say for whatever reason that the member didn't actually do any of those things. So we can't validate the info that they gave us. What we might do is jump to the Send Email Documents tab. which is actually, it's kind of split down the middle. The stuff on the right-hand side is not really anything to do with the left-hand side. So on the left-hand side, we've got some ad hoc emails that you can send for pass, refer, fail, proof of income, electronic signatures, and a couple of ad hoc ones. So we would just send the proof of income email to the member at this point with either, upload portal link or open banking link within it because we can't verify their income. So I'm going to send that to the member just now. And then when I go back to the queue, you'll notice that Testaria, or whatever her name was, it is not in the pending queue. That's because she's in the awaiting proof of income queue. And the idea behind that is that there are, stages within the application where it's the credit union's responsibility to do something with the application. And likewise, there'll be stages where it's the member's responsibility to do something, such as provide proof of income or sign the loan documents that you sent to them. So we separate it out so that, the pending queue is all the balls in your court. And anytime it's not, we have a separate queue where it's back in the member's court. So awaiting proof of income has a separate queue, awaiting docs has a separate queue. So it just kind of makes it easier when you look at the pending queue, you know exactly what you've got to deal with at the moment. So I'll go back to the POI queue. We'll just imagine Tasita has returned a bank statement or whatever, so we can verify her income. And she was completely honest with us, which is awesome. So that's her income, that's her expenditure. We do allow a variance here of, I think it's up to 100%, which has always seemed like quite a lot to me, but that's what the CRAs say is acceptable. So that's the way the system works. And then on the right-hand side here, it's just how the loan's going to be dispersed. So we don't really need to change that. So I'll save that and close it. Back to the pending queue where she is. And we'll see income, expenditure, and payout is now green as well. Cool. So we're almost there. So on the send email and documents tab, we'll just be looking at the right-hand side now. All we're going to do is basically tick what we want to send to the member. So obviously we want to send a loan agreement. Because they joined and borrowed, we also might want to send them a new member welcome pack and any other documentation that you might have. So we can either print that, save it to PDF, upload it to the members area, or send it off for an electronic signature if we use RPost. I'll just save it to PDF just now for demo. Just let it go through its business and generate the stuff. Bro. Okay, so again, now that it's off to the member to actually sign the documentation, it's back out the pending queue. Now it's in the awaiting docs queue, where, as it sounds, waiting for them to return signed documentation. So again, we'll just imagine that that's been done. I can still decline the application if I want to at this point, but I'll just confirm that we've received a signed loan agreement back, which will pop it to the final queue, docs received. So again, can still decline it at this stage, but more than likely, if we have a signed loan agreement back, we're going to approve the application. And the underwriting queue respects the risk limit. Excuse me. It respects the risk limit that you set in credit control. So each teller has a risk limit, of a value, which will say they can't solely approve a loan over a specific value. So if this loan was above my risk limit, it would require a second signatory from someone with a higher limit or a higher menu priority. Otherwise, it would let me approve this application. I've got no idea what mine's currently set to. We'll see what happens when I approve the application. Yes, we want to approve it. Oh, so my risk limit must be quite high. So that's really the underwriting queue done its job. It's taken the loan to the stage where we're ready to actually put it on the member's account and allocate the funds. So we'll still do that through the same methods that you always use, be it through manual loan allocation to get it onto the member's account, and then checks and backs release to actually disperse the fund and get the file off to the bank. Really, the queue's purpose is to get you to that stage where you're going to approve the loan or allocate the loan, I suppose. So yeah, that's really Lace. I think I've covered everything I wanted to. Do you have any questions off the back of it?
Yep, I have a few. Okay.
Sure.
So we currently use Equifax as an agency. Can we continue to use them, or do we require to use TransUnion?
So you do need to use TransUnion for the APIs. It's the only one we're currently integrating with. There is a reseller of their services called CreditSafe, who I understand are a wee bit cheaper, but it's still the TransUnion APIs that are used.
Right, okay. Do we know what the cost of that is?
No, because it's dependent on the number of searches you sign up to, etc. I can provide you the information for both TU and CreditSafe, though, if you want to get an indication from them what it might cost.
Right, okay, that's fine. The lookup for the address, is that a cost, and is that a chargeable event?
Yeah, so that's provided through a company called Allies Computing. They're quite reasonable. I think roughly it's about 2p a go.
Okay, fine. Right. The ID and V, is that again through TransUnion?
It is, yeah.
And again, there's obviously that comes at a cost, so you don't know what that cost is either.
No, it's kind of the same deal as the credit checking. I think you kind of reached an agreement with them. They don't have like a flat fee.
Right. Okay. And I noticed on the application that on quite a few of the screens, I spoke about credit score. Where's that credit score being calculated? Is that being calculated by TransUnion? Is that being calculated by the lace curtains? Where's that coming from? And does that have any significance to the application?
So that's their actual CRA credit score. So like the official credit score that they have. It's more for your information, but we do have rules on it that you can set. So you can say if the credit score is below or above X, make it a pass, refer, or fail.
Right. Okay. That's fine. Right. Okay. And all of this, what you've just went through there, we can do through the Circle app.
Yes. So this does integrate into the Circle app. They would get the exact same journey. It is that journey embedded into the app.
Right. Okay. That's fine. I did obviously I previously contacted Deborah about the loan calculator. I think it was the Letic contacted Deborah, and we see that loan calculators actually within the lace curtains. But we then, I think the latest question was, could we have that loan calculator on our website? But there was some sort of different wording to say we don't normally give it to third-party suppliers. It would come at a cost, but it's embedded into the into the lace curtains application. So the member would have to actually start to apply for a loan to find out how much a loan was going to cost, rather than actually just find out what the cost is and then make the decision before they want to start the application process.
I mean, it's kind of two separate things. Like if you want a loan calculator on your public website, then that can absolutely be arranged. Kind of whether or not that's not really lace dependent.
Okay, because she said that because in the email she referenced two other credit unions. I think it was Leeds Credit Union. I've got it, and somebody else. She lives 2 seconds.
Might be in Stockport.
Yep, that's exactly who it was. Yeah, that's exactly who it was.
Yeah, so we do. Some credit unions have requested that we create a loan calculator for them that they embed on their website.
Yep.
So I think the query before was about actually providing the code for the calculation to a third party, which is not something I think we usually do. I'd need to put that up the chain to see what the stance is at the moment.
She came back with a price of doing it, but I think the comment, I think that something lines up because you don't host our website, and that was one of the reasons.
Yeah, So if you want a loan calculator, we can certainly do that. That's kind
Right.
of aside from LACE.
Right. Okay. That's fair enough. Right. So if you could send us over the information, I mean, is this used by a lot of? I mean, it obviously be quite a wholesale change if we're moving away from Equifax. You know, so that's obviously quite a big change from us. You know, certainly that would, I think, be quite a big consideration to be moving away. I don't know what the, you know, I mean, as far as we were under contract with Equifax, so we'd be, you know, and again, it's based on the number of, you know, it's based on the volume of credit checks per month. So we could be potentially paying for credit
Right.
checks I'm not going to be using going forward if we're going to you know, transfer over to the TransUnion.
So you can actually use LACE without the TransUnion APIs, but you do obviously lose out on a great deal of the functionality with it not being passed through those searches.
Right.
So it's doable. You don't, as I say, you don't really get the full benefit of it. Quite a lot less, but it's certainly doable. I think we must have 30 odd CUs on LACE just now. It's quite a well-established product these days. Operates quite well, touch wood. So I know that we have had a couple of people move away from Equifax to use it. And in terms of the service, I hear it's kind of comparable. But yeah,
So, but
in terms of
initially,
contracting,
so
etc., I don't
if we
know.
were still under contract with Equifax, then we could continue, and then obviously when a contract ends, we could then you know, potentially go to TransUnion at that point.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And it's based, and you're not taking a cut in terms of an introducer.
No.
You know, no, right? Okay, because I've also had issues with that, like that in the past, where you know, you
Right.
put your cut and somebody else put their cut and somebody else put their cut, and it got to the stage where we're getting charged £8 for, because I think that was one of the problems we've had with the Circle app, that by the time they took their cut, it was £8 for address and ID. So that's, you're not involved in that.
That's quite excessive.
In
an ideal
excessive is an
world,
understatement. Yeah.
I think ideally we'd be offering you the API directly, but we're not quite at that stage. So yeah, it's your agreement with the TransUnion or CreditSafe, and we're kind of completely separate from that.
Right. Okay, that's fine. Okay. No, I'm good with that. Okay, Marianne, what have you got?
Certainly a lot of information to try and digest at the one time.
It is.
And you made it look dead easy as well, which was great in one way. I've just got a few wee questions. I watched the demo as well that Debs had sent over, you know, through YouTube, and I just had a couple of wee questions in relation to that as well, if that's all right. You'd mentioned that there's rules that you would set up through this, the internal and external management side. Is that, would we be able to sort of change that as and when we needed, or is it something that we would need to do through yourselves?
No, so in terms of editing the rules, you can do that whenever you like, and they would just, any changes that you made would take effect for the next application that comes in.
Right, okay, that's fine. Also, as well, you'd said about that yous have introduced, to try and kind of streamline it, yous have introduced like a cost of living, you know, sort of preempt for different things. Our loan application at the moment is quite comprehensive in terms of, and specific for what types of things that we ask members, you know, especially for, you know, IVs and last date worked, all that sort of stuff. How would that be incorporated then?
Well, because it's being passed through a credit check, we don't really need to ask them about IVAs, because that sort of information is going to be availed on the search that gets carried out. So we can avoid asking a bunch of questions like that. Have you ever been bankrupt? Are you on CCJs? All that kind of stuff is information that we'll get without them having to fill it in and, you know, make the application quite unpleasant for the applicant.
Okay. It's fine.
I would add,
Yes, sorry.
we do also have scope for 10 additional fields that can be added to the application for kind of whatever information you like that would be imported into your UDFs on curtains. So there is also a bit of flexibility there for kind of additional questions that you might have.
That's fine. And if would this be done through using the Nevo bot as well, or is it a different way of working sort of thing?
Yeah, you can. So it is itself a website. So you can have a link to it actually on your website for members to apply for, etc., or just visit via the web. And then also you can do a bot journey where if they have the app, it will load it within the app for them to fill out that application.
Right. Okay. And if it's done through that, through the app, the way we have it just now with the withdrawals is that it informs the member that the applications come through to us, and obviously the decision's not immediate, and it can give them a sort of time scale. Is that something that we're able to add to within the Nevo bot?
No, but we can sort of tailor the end of the application to say whatever you like.
Right. Okay. Because I know, like,
so we give
our members, they expect a decision. You know, they don't realise that it has to go through the whole process. And I know, obviously,
Right.
you're trying to streamline that in one way, but with the problems that we've seen arising with applications, then it can take sometimes a few days, you know, and it's just really to make it as clear to the members as possible for that.
Well, I think you can see on my screen, this is just the default text we have at the end of the application, but obviously we can tailor that to say whatever you like, really.
Right, okay, good, that's fine. Just make me notes, sorry.
No problem.
Okay. Also, if they provide different information, you know, if it pulls information that from curtains that we hold, how would they update information? You know, if they've changed their address or changed their email, mobile, things like that. How would that be shown, or would that come through separately or within the loan application?
Yep. As long as they've successfully logged in as themselves, we will update their record with new information that they provide. I think if they've changed their surname, they will need to contact you because we don't allow that to be editable. Or you know, there's some things that aren't editable, like national insurance number, date of birth. But things like if the address changes, we'll just update it as long as they've verified themselves.
Right, okay. And is that just automatically updated then?
It is, yeah. And then on that log email that you get, it would inform you that it's updated the address from what it was previously.
Right, okay. Would that then prompt them to, when you're talking about the ID and V check, would that prompt that to happen, or would that be manually done?
Yeah, so for the ID and V, it will send off the information that they put on the application. So if they updated their address on the application, that's the address that would get passed through the IDV check.
Okay. You gave an answer for that one, because I was going to say the terms and the frequency on the payment calculator, we couldn't see on the demo the overall deduction. It was just showing the loan repayment. But what you showed this morning, there was I seen a wee line that said, you know, if it's 256 a month for your loan and then an additional £10 to your savings. So that's what would happen on the actual app, right?
Yeah, they'll see the repayment, etc., before they apply.
That's fine, because I know our members, they talk about the full deduction, and then leave the loan repayment to us to work out. So it's just so that they can understand that that's still, if it shows them both parts of it, then that's fine.
Perfect.
Another question I had was, if they have, some of our members have multiple loans, they've not just got the standard loan, they could have the car loan, consolidation loan, holiday loan. Is that, would they be able to pick what one it was to top up? Is that something simple for them to show?
It's so they can't pick which one to top up. It will try and top up the one with the lowest balance. Once it comes into the underwriting queue, if for whatever reason you still got, the control to change the loan product if you want, but if they're running multiples, it'll pick the one with the lowest balance.
Okay. And what about, because we do PBs or revolving credits, how would this work in terms of that?
It wouldn't. It doesn't deal with revolving credit because that's sort of, it's not a loan really. It's more like a credit note, I suppose. So it doesn't deal with revolving credit products.
It's fine. I think that might have been everything at the moment.
In terms of,
Okey-dokey. I do appreciate.
in terms of we were to go ahead with this, Brian, what's the price of it to set up?
I'm not dodging the question, Craig, but I'll refer you to Deb's to see what we're at in terms of price, if that's okay.
Okay, no, that's fine. I was told one price and I've been told something different, but I just wanted to clarify it. That was all.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, fair dues.
So yeah, it's a lot of information I've just kind of thrown at you. So I appreciate. If anything else does pop up that you think of, feel free to email or drop me a line, and I'll be happy to answer any more questions that you might have.
I've got maybe one more.
I will say.
I've got a couple.
Yeah.
So, in terms of your credit unions that are using this, do you have to use it through the Circle app, or if are credit unions using it through third-party apps, not ones that you involve with yourself?
Nobody's using it through a third-party app, to my knowledge, but the majority of people are using it as a website rather than through an app.
Okay, fair enough. Okay.
The actual integration into the Nevo app is actually quite a recent thing, but it's working well. The only difference is when they log in, rather than send an email to them with a passcode, it'll send them a text message because we know they're on their mobile.
Yeah, absolutely.
But other than that, majority of people are just kind of visiting it via their website.
Okay, that's fine. So are they still getting that experience? Because also the whole point is to try and get drive members towards the app to get the app experience. People expect it, through that, doing it through their app rather than doing it through their website.
Absolutely, yeah. So for those that have got the Nevo app, it's there embedded, good to go. It's in a couple already.
Okay, no problem with that.
But you've got the choice really to do it through the app or through the website. Is it a similar format? If they do it through both?
Yeah, it's exactly the same. It is the very same. So the site itself, is responsive, so it will adapt to any device, browser that we're looking at it on. So it's kind of exactly the same experience on the app as it is on the website. Just really, I suppose, depends the preference of where you want to kind of send the members towards. If you prefer them in the app, that's where it can be. If you want to give them the option via the website as well, no problem.
Right,
Okay.
that's fine.
So I think that in conclusion, if we were still with, if we were to continue with Equifax, that summary of the credit check would still have to be done manually by a member of staff to cross-reference information against the loan application. Yeah.
That's
So all you're
right.
really
And
doing,
then,
all you're
you know,
really doing is digitalizing the application process. This decision also then taken if it's continued to be made in a kind of more manual basis, but then it could then fall back to the digital correspondence between the credit union and the member.
that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Okay,
doable.
that's fine.
You're losing a few bells and whistles, but it can be added later.
Yeah. Okay, that's fine. I'm good with that.
All right.
Have you
Terrific.
have you got anything else, Marianne?
No, I think I mean, it certainly looks good. It's one of those ones it's hard to imagine at times how it would play out with our varied membership, and that's what I'm thinking. To do with the cost of living and all that sort of stuff. When you've got the London, all the different types of industries and things like that we deal with, and
But I'm sure
But
you've got
certainly
credit
it's-
unions. I'm sure Brian's got credit unions exactly like that, Marianne. If we've got 33 credit unions on it,
Oh,
they'll be coming across, between that 33 credit unions, they will all be experiencing different levels similar to ourselves.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's just what I would think the key thing really from us is, as long as it can be, is tailor made to suit us, and to suit the way that we work with the members. I think certainly that's a good thing. So if there's wee bits that we can have input in terms of letting the members know, keep them updated, or making specific statements and things throughout the journey, then I definitely think that's a winner.
equally, if you did find that the affordability calculation was an issue, we can just, we can change the threshold. We do have this query often, and of all the latest installations we've done, we've never actually had to change it. But the option is there if you think, oh, it's too firm or it's too fair. We can just change the percentage that you allow as a threshold.
That's fine. I just know what our members are like.
I think another one you're saying there, Brian, about more often than not, we're coming across members, maybe over exaggerating their income. We can have
Yes.
two people doing the same job, and one's getting quoted quoting £1,400 a month, and the other one's quoting £2,000 a month. Doing exactly the same job. Yes, there's a variance for overtime, but even still, not a variance of £600. So more often than not, we'll obviously ask them to establish their income. One other thing that we're certainly experiencing now is that obviously we've got salary finance and a couple of the companies that we deal with as well. So, and salary finance doesn't show up in the credit check. So again, when we are lending to members within those employers that have got salary finance, then we as a default would ask for a couple of wage slips to prove that to see if they have got salary finance deductions, because not only is it a salary finance deduction for a loan which doesn't show in Equifax, which doesn't show in a credit check, they've also take the salary finance salary advances, and they can run to significant amounts of money. I mean, I had one last week where they had a repayment for salary finance for a loan for £240 per month, and then they had a salary finance advance of £650 a month. So if you're earning
Wow.
£2,500 a month, that's nearly the best part of £900 before you even kick a ball in terms of off your
Yeah,
salary.
that's not a good time.
Yeah,
That's a couple of interesting points, actually.
Have you not come across that? No.
No, I haven't. So I'm thinking. So first of all, we could certainly ask the question on the application.
Yeah.
That would, again, we're kind of depending on them telling the truth.
Yeah.
But it's the kind of thing where if you're signed up to an open banking provider, would be really useful, because you'll just see that when they sign up their bank account, you'll see that information in the portal,
Well,
so you can verify it.
You wouldn't see the. All you would see is the take-home pay. You wouldn't see if the advance. You would have to see the actual salary, the
Either wage slip.
wage
Yeah.
slips.
Oh, this is before they're actually. This doesn't come out of their bank direct. This comes out of their right. Okay,
Yeah.
that's,
It
that's a
comes
tricky
out-
one, isn't it?
It comes off its source the same way a credit union deduction does.
Got you. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I think maybe definitely asking the question on the application, and then it might be
Like kind of
might be
encouraging
mandatory
them
to ask
to-
for pay slips.
Making it like a default that they would
A
they would
default,
do
you know,
that
just-
anyway.
I mean, can it be default? And I'm asking a question I don't know the answer to. Can it be more specific where it asks certain question depends on who they're employed by? Or is it just across the board? Ask the same questions.
Well, I suppose it kind of depends in that scenario, because let me think. Well, no, I suppose if they put their employer in, then the finances step is the following step. So yeah, we could yeah, that's doable.
Okay, fair enough.
Good.
Right, okay, well, I'm finished. So one last thing, how quickly will we get a copy of the YouTube video?
It'll probably be the start of next week, because I know Debs is away for the next couple of days.
Right, okay, that's fine. It's just that also we quite like to share it when you're also myself and Mary Ann are on the call, but I would also quite like to share it with Kira and Valletta. And I'm sure they've got quite a good handle on what the kind of stuff that we're talking about as well. So it'd be good to get their input as well as maybe a few questions from them. I mean, we might have covered most of the questions, but I'm sure they might have one or two more additional to that.
No problem. I'll drop a wee reminder to Debs to get that over to you ASAP, and
Perfect.
also I'll provide you the third-party info and
Yeah,
a
for
finalised
that.
price for you too.
Perfect, that's great. Okay, thanks very much for that, Brian.
Paul.
Terrific, Paul.
Oh,
by the
sorry,
way.
Paul. Sorry. The two you
It was
sound the
Brian
same.
that did the
So.
demo.
All right, okay, that's right. No, it's just apologies. Right, no problem
No,
at
you're
all.
fine,
Thanks
fine.
again for that. Okay.
Nice to speak to you
Right.
both.
Okay, see you
Thanks very
later.
much.
Cheers.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Bye.